Hello everyone, how are we? Lovely attendance tonight. Wish I knew why. Is it because we had a month off? Or? Oh, it's always lovely to see you guys. Welcome to the July AEVA Queensland meeting. Tonight I'm doing my normal thing. Les is going to have a chat about his experience with the Leaf since he's owned it, and he also rides an e-bike, and he wants to tell us a little bit about some of the ownership of that. And then Tim's going to have a chat about his very nice VW Combi. Then we'll have our tea and coffee afterwards. Tim Tams and chocolate. All right, I did myself a disservice by having last month off, even though it was State of Origin. And that means you have to suffer through the 1,000 EV stations that got installed in the last 2 months. So just to start with the free things, the free charges in the city that I always do. St Lucia's offline. The one at the stadium for QT is offline as well, and the other two are limited. All I can really say is they just must get hammered, mustn't they? Like, you see how many check-ins? It's just absolutely insane how many Uber drivers are going there. I know I'm familiar with going to a charger and meeting some of the Uber drivers, and they're just checking in so often. So, yeah, come on QUT and UQ, you need to get some new chargers in there, reliable ones. Alrighty, let's go north to south. The Sunshine Coast got, and the Ampol at Sippy Downs installed an EV charger. That's only new, so early July that opened. And EV Networks Caloundra finally got opened. Tim's with us tonight. He's from EV Networks. Maybe we could ask him after about some of that stuff. But yeah, I think it was a good 6 months for that one getting built and coming online. One other little bit is that EV have just upped their price from 45 to 50, and on their 350s from 60 to 65. So we all know there's some fluctuation in the electricity market, so I figure that's probably pretty much related to that. Okie doke. The big fish. Does everyone know the big fish? Yeah. The Ampol there's put in one of their chargers. There's not actually that many Ampol EV locations at the moment, but they've put one on the highway up to the Sunshine Coast. They're a little bit expensive, 69 cents. Quoted as being a 150 kilowatt charger, but they're actually 180 if you get both modules, but generally, because it's CharterMo and CCS, you're only getting about 90, unless you've got an Ioniq 5 or an EV6 or one of those 800 volt cars, and you can achieve about 140, something like that. All right, there's quite a few to go through, so I'll probably just skim through them pretty quickly so you don't get bored. EV Networks at Brendale opened in mid-June. Now, not on this one, but I want you just to maybe watch for the plug types, because that's interesting. Because I'm into EV charging. I'm finding some of the stuff that's happening in that space interesting. So just look at the plug type, and I'll try and point it out as we get to it. But Brendale, got that one. Next one. It's BP Albany Creek. BP going nuts. Absolute. I reckon I've got 20 entries or something on here from BP. Maybe not 20, but a lot of BP sites. So someone at BP just pulled their finger out in the last 2 months and got a whole bunch of sites done. So They're at 55 cents and 75 kilowatt, 1 CCS, 1 CHAdeMO. We've got the old Toombul Charge Fox chargers, the 2 350s and the 50 are going in at Castledine shopping thing on the corner of Beams Road and Gympie Road there. I don't know if this is a fantastic location because there's an open air car park and then you have to kind of go down, and I think there's a small car park underneath. These aren't actually online yet. It's they've been fenced off for a little while, but I can't imagine it's too long. Charge Fox are at 45 cents for the 50 and 60 cents for the 350. Now these are the, what is this still a PK or the very early PK? But just didn't have the dual, so it's only CCS on those ones. But I don't know which ones it is, but I've used these chargers quite a lot at Toombul, so it's actually nice to see them get reinstalled somewhere. And Castledine's is nice and central for me anyway. BP at Hamilton opened last week, dual CCS. Now, does anyone notice a problem with this layout? Don't open the ice while your car's in this thing, right? Like it's a bit tight, don't you think?
Has been iced.
Oh, there's ice and ice, yeah. But I want you to keep an eye on. I did my best to put a white Model 3 in every photo coming up too. So it's the little. Well, they called little carrot, little Easter egg. Let's go. Right, now, this is, I don't know the backstory on this, maybe Tim can help us out, but a very long time ago it got announced, I think that something to do with BP and EV networks were putting in a charger at the BP at Bowen Hills, but that never happened. I think maybe there was concerns about the flooding in that location. It never happened. It definitely was announced because I saw myself on websites that they were planning to put one in there, but BP are finally putting one in there. This is everyone knows the BP next to the Royal. It's a pretty well-known location, so don't know what plug types that's going to be just yet, but it's coming. BP East Brisbane opened mid-June and was offline this week, and I believe it's back online. Dual CCS. Next one. BP Springwood opened late June. 1 CCS, 1 CHAdeMO. I couldn't find a picture. That was the only photo, so I couldn't have a white Model 3 in that one. BP Loganholme. Now, I give kudos to whoever is working at BP for putting in dual CCS and 1 CCS, 1 CHAdeMO. That's a good idea if you're going to have two charging heads to put in 3 CCS and 1 CHAdeMO. So that's good job, whoever that is at BP who decided that.
John, just a quick one. On the dual CCS, will the one that's not naturally on the right side for a Model 3 make its way around, or is it only good for one Tesla at a time?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, because you've got to use the right one to charge on the left bay. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's the, yeah.
Yeah, so will the left one, it probably.
You reverse into the left one and the other, and you drive into the space on the right.
Oh, you're far.
Should restore the front left.
Yeah. Okay.
Should restore the
Maybe that one's getting the right and that one's getting the left. Well, they stretch.
I'm just more thinking in
Yeah, but then you're blocking. Yeah.
It's 75% of the market. It's
I think, look, This isn't my optimum. I really think that they're going to need to start going to a regular petrol station model where you can actually drive in, and there's a reason, you know, that petrol stations are like that, because you've got fuel plugs at the back, on the sides, and what we're seeing a lot more these days is trailers, you know, and you know, there's been memes going around on Facebook and stuff of, you know, there's an actual AEVA member who parked his Model 3 up over the curb, because he had his trailer on there, and someone cropped the photo and go, oh, you know, Tesla owner, you know, look at this, you know, because he was right up over the curb. But when you've got a trailer, it's inconvenient to unhitch, and no petrol or diesel owners would go to the trouble of unhitching just to fill their car up, would they, necessarily? I mean, yeah. So, yeah, good job, BP, on that one. Now, this is a charger I haven't seen before, the Ocular 60 kilowatt.
This is offered by EBSC, the company you might
Yeah.
have seen. So
Are they Australian or?
Sam? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know them pretty well, Sam and Brett.
Yeah. So I'm interested to check this one out. I assume it shares the 60 kilowatt. I would imagine it probably doesn't do 120 kilowatt.
No, it'll do 60 or 230s.
230s, yeah.
It's a really great charger for faster fleet options or this sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's something that's on my shopping list.
Yeah. So this is at Stapleton, 45 cents. I downloaded the Explorer app, because we need an extra app, right? So the Explorer app. Now, I don't really do that much AC charging. I'm a bit more fanatical about the DC type of stuff. But when I downloaded the app, they've actually got a lot of AC chargers all over the place. So, and like in New South Wales and Victoria as well. So perhaps as I start to expand, we will need that app. Because I did see when I sort of Googled the Ocular stuff, they do also have a large cabinet DC fast charger as well. So hopefully we get to see one of those. All right, Ampol Reedy Creek down on the Gold Coast. Just another one. One CCS, one Chartermo. They've only got one model, so. EV at Robina opened in late May. I think I must have missed this one, or that happened after our last meeting. Oops, I've left 45 cents on there, but it's actually 50. Very interestingly, 4 CCS. So that's what, are you moving away from the Chartermo ever so slightly?
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, there's geographic rules as to depending on the funding source.
The funding, yeah. So your arena funding for EV Networks was you must have a Chartermo, but there are obviously some other places that you do independently that you can just put whatever you want in. Yeah. Okay, well that's good. BP Goodna coming soon. I went out on a limb and guessed that this is going to be 3 CCS and 1 Chartermo based on the other location. BP Black Soil opened in mid-June. This guy has a trailer. This is not the photo I was referring to before, but the caption for this thing did have you were able to pull in and charge on the side.
So stations like Black Soil in particular that are sort of on major arterial really should have some kind of pull-through setup.
Exactly.
Particularly Black Soil in particular because that is the thoroughfare going up towards.
Exactly. Well, look, I mean, it's an evolution, right? It's like we're going from every single charger being Chartermo and CCS to now we're starting to see dual CCS, and then I guess eventually we'll start to see some. I think actually in some of the coming slides we might even have, let's just have a look at what's next. Is it It's the Quesh at Esk, finally opened. We saw that for about 5 meetings. That was in black plastic. 30 cents a kilowatt hour for the 75, one CCS, one charter mo. So that's a kind of remote-ish area for charging, so that's good to see that one's online now. It's the next one. Right, here we go. Julia Creek, 0 check-ins at the moment. But does everyone know where Julia Creek is? Some do, some don't. It's between Townsville and Mount Isa, okay? So, but this is, look at this layout, you've got the two in a row, 2 parks in a row, and the charger there. So now, Nathan raised a good point that the majority of EVs are probably Model 3, Model Y. I would assume you're parking, oh hold on, no, oh the plug is on that side, isn't it? Yeah, the plug is on that side. So that's...
If the plug's on the front, it's still on the left-hand side, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking some models, just go, can you go back to 2 slides? So this, I can't recognise.
There you go.
Can you go forward 2 slides now, please? Yeah, this one. So that's the front of the car, I'm pretty sure. That's not a Model 3, is it? I don't think.
I don't think it's Model 3, but...
I figured the trailer was here, but...
I think the only one with the one on the front right would be some of the Audis and Porsches.
Oh, that's the... Oh, so that's the wing mirror there.
That definitely was a black car, I think.
So that might be a... So that could be a Model 3. Yeah. But there are cars that have the charge port on the front driver's side.
I think, well, which one's that? I think some of the Audis, they have one on both sides.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully, hopefully there's a model out there that can actually service all cars, and I think the drive-through model is probably pretty close to that. But I guess it takes up a lot of space to do that, so it's probably why they don't do it. But
Plenty of space in Julia Creek.
yeah. Right. There you go. There's Julia Creek right there. Okay. So I've been running this slide for probably a year now, and Dingo's active, Esk is finally active down here, and Julia Creek's active. There's 10 of the 24 phase 3 sites left to go, and they're the red ones there. So keep you updated on that. Alrighty. Just as I mentioned earlier, EV just upping their prices by 5 cents a kilowatt hour. For those that hadn't seen this slide before, just a little comparison of petrol and diesel prices to the costs of current charging. Nothing too much else to really say there. All right. I think everyone had enough for charging? Okay. Browns Plains Engie. Look, I think I don't tend to repeat ones that I've already mentioned. I think I mentioned... has it? Browns Plains... Oh, okay. There's a hydrogen one there. Okay. I kind of want to check out a hydrogen one at some point. Not too soon, but at some point.
John, just a comment on the EV charging. It seems to me that every one of those slides you've shown would be impossible for anybody who's got a disability. You could not get a wheelchair up over those ramps onto those actual connections to hoses to put in the system. I just wondering if the AEVA...
Are you saying that they're actually up on a platform?
Up on the platform,
Yeah.
but you see they've also got the barriers to stop the car going back again.
Yeah.
And you basically can't get a wheelchair between both of those. So I'm just wondering if the AEVA have any consideration about that, or any response back to the government about designing for disability?
There's a body that already does that.
Like,
There's a body that already represents.
yeah,
So we don't represent them because they already have their own body to represent them.
there's already a disability group that is represented, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But none of the things you show actually suit people with disability.
Yeah.
Are you thinking wheelchair access? Is that what you're referring to primarily, or?
Yeah. I was just curious as well, just because I can see that there's identity with that.
Yeah. What?
There's already an association.
What?
They already come up the manufacturer.
This is a thought bubble, but is there any hassle at petrol stations? Because they've got the drive-through layout, but once again, this is going to the point, like, we already had the drive-through layout, but we're doing EV charging a different way, maybe because of the way you have to run the electrical cable and legislation about that, and then, you know, we're still in the sort of the early phase, but I guess we get the models from overseas, and I think it will just be an evolution over time when, you know, enough people say that. But yeah, we'd certainly advocate for it, but I don't think we're in a space that we advocate for it.
There is a paper that's been put together by Ostroads, which is the head body or the peak body for all of the departments of transport in research space. I've written for them on a number of things, but there is a piece on charging standards, and that goes everything from signage through to, you know, all through bays and so on. But unfortunately, like everything in Australia, it's a serving suggestion rather than a decree. So I think that paper should be published by now. I might look for it in the meantime, but let you know. But there has been some research commissioned and should be out there by now.
You want to add anything, Tim? Not to put you on the spot, but have you heard of it in your considerations?
Yeah, definitely. We're looking into how to make everything more accessible. Yeah. It's at the moment not mandated.
The thing is, my experience is on the larger DC fast chargers, being an able-bodied person, I find it actually even some difficult to handle. I don't feel physically weak, but some of those water-cooled cables are heavy. You're trying to, I mean, the Kona's got a great port location, but I've been around when other people are trying to put it into ports at different angles and stuff. Like, I mean, there's enough concern for able-bodied people as well. I think it is concerning for people with a disability to even have that, to you know, try and do something similar. But yeah, it's a good point. I'll maybe have a chat with Nathan, see if we can find some stuff. Have a chat in the next meeting about that. Who went to the RACQ Motorfest? Anyone? Was it good? Did they have any EVs there? Did they have as large display as the previous year, or?
Well, all the new vehicles coming out,
I didn't really see much about it. I didn't see too much online. Council bus, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know previous years there'd been some larger EV sort of stalls, but yeah. Wouldn't mind one of them actually. All right, but yeah. Yeah, okay. So Jeff and I and Porsche Taycan owner Julian and his partner, we did the AEVA stall up at the Noosa EV Expo. It was quite a nice day, and we finally got to use the new donated AEVA gazebo there. It's very nice. Guys over at Nudu donated that to us, and it's fantastic actually. Looks very professional. I'll just go through a couple of the highlights of the new EV Expo. The Hyundai Ioniq 6 was on display. I think that's going to be quite a popular car.
Why do you think it's going to be a popular car?
It's not a Tesla.
It's got to look pretty good and it's got to have a decent price. It doesn't have any of those things.
Oh, mate, come on. But just change the badge, you'd be all right with it, I reckon. If I say it's based on the Model 3, will you like it?
No, it still looks like garbage. Still too expensive.
Yeah, look, the back isn't for everyone, but that's an aerodynamics thing. But yeah, I don't mind it, but I wouldn't buy it.
I just like it's not yet another SUV.
And yeah, well, it's not an SUV. But the thing is that each year that we've been involved with EVs, there's been those key models that come out, and I think I'll be turning my head when I see these on the road, I think.
I think the main issue now for the Ioniq 6 is that now the Polestar 2's had a refresh, rear-wheel drive and more efficient. It's kind of, if you don't want a Tesla, I think the Polestar 2 is kind of the next best option.
Well, we've posted the Polestar, is it Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4? I think we did that in previous months. They're a good looking car. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, my wife is not into EVs and she likes the Polestar, so that must say something for its design. The Aura Cat was on display there as well. A couple of good models that are coming to the market. A little bit more expensive than the MG4 and the Dolphin that are coming out, but there's quite a lot of these in Thailand. Yeah, well, that would be sensible if you want to compete. So.
Yeah, I have a bit of a price thinker at the moment.
What's next, mate? Go on, say it, go on.
The guy's been taking this youth all around Australia. He's taking it to all sorts of joints and he's all over socials with it and gets the conversation moving, right?
It does. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I'll say.
You got to start somewhere.
I
Right?
appreciate the enthusiasm, but that vehicle's a waste of
It's rather expensive, but it did have a little...
It's expensive. It has very little range. It has no load capacity. I think we've all kind of. It's two-wheel drive too.
And it's got a really interesting drive unit arrangement. Like it's got basically a drive unit right over the axle. And so
it's actually on the axle beam itself, it's a live axle.
That's it. So,
But look,
just an interesting way of delivering power to the axle.
but where are the other brands? At the end of the day, where are the other brands? Even if it's not that good, where are the other brands? You know.
Another thing, like to me, the ET60 seems like a bit of a cynical cash grab to try and get car buyers from like corporations and councils that have these like EV events. And currently, like I said, like there's no other attributes, so they kind of have to by default end up at least buying at least one or two of these.
And look, is LDV subsidiary of Great Wall or yeah? Look, there was a time in the last 10 years where you would not buy a Great Wall. I think they might be getting a little bit better with some of their current product, and I think a lot of the Jollians and yeah, I think they certainly have come up the curve a little bit from what their standard that they had, because you could pretty much.
Talking about councils, but a lot of councils I engaged with only less than 12 months ago wouldn't touch it because of its origin, where it comes from, and the kind of that it is. So there's still a lot of.
There's a stigma, isn't there? There's a stigma on Great Wall.
My dad used to work for Brisbane City Council. He was doing fleets, and so they just weren't allowed to buy. Although they did buy a Polestar 2, which is funny because they are also built in China and owned by Geely.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing, it just can't look like it's...
It's complete opinion and an actual, economics and sense does not enter into that discussion.
Yeah.
But it's got a very high price tag for what it is. That's another thing, right?
That's the issue.
It's very, very expensive.
It's not very good at being a huge, which is
Yeah.
the problem. Like,
I mean,
the fact that it can't,
why aren't you just buying a Triton over this?
exactly, if you need to tow something, an XC40 EV will tow more than that. That's only got 1,000 kilo towing.
Yeah. So anyway, that was way more than I wanted to talk about the ET60. Graham had done a Toyota Corona for a customer, and he had that on display. I'm sorry that's not a great photo because it's off video, but I might see if we can even get that in to the hall for one of our future meetings.
I think I was talking to her about it. She came to...
Oh, good. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
You'll follow that up for me, won't you?
No, you said, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. No, lovely. That's it, mostly for the Noosa EV Expo. It was a great day, it always is. People just happy to talk about EVs, You've all been there and you've seen what it's like. It's moving right along, and then we'll have our guest speakers. I think we've got, I want to do an EV catch-up at North Lakes on the 6th of August. I want to do a couple because there's not that great deal going on. The Mount Tambourine Car Show I've mentioned before is on the 20th of August. They're keen for electric cars to go there. I sent out the email to register for the Cleveland EV Experience. It's just on the Google form for those that can come along. That's pretty much a couple of us in here organising that, and it's been, I consider it's been pretty successful with 70, 80 EVs the last 2 years. So I want to sort of get a few more stalls this year because last year I think quite too many pulled out right at the end and it seemed a bit empty, but I'm going to work harder in that space. But if you've got an EV, come along and be part of a massive EV event. Talk to the public, help me out with doing some test drives. The weekend after, I think we need a couple of cars for anyone who's up on the north side, just with the Caboolture Library. I think we're only one, it's like 5-10 cars or something like that.
Yeah, probably about
8?
eight.
That's 5 to 10, mate. But yeah, 8.
And if anybody's got...
They've said 8, have they, specifically?
That was the number we got to, based on the spec.
Okay.
And if anybody's got bikes or scooters that
Yeah.
they want to talk about e-mobility.
E-mobility, okay, perfect. And does everyone know that each year the National AEVA do their own event, and it's in Perth this year? Is anyone planning to arrive there? I didn't think so. I'm not. They have asked the question if anyone from Queensland is driving though, so. It's the Nullarbor. It's the Nullarbor, mate. I don't know what you're going to... Yeah. For those that don't AC charge, what are you going to do? Righto. Just a few more things and then I'll get out of the way. Each month I try and just give a couple of key points of the big stories that are happening in the EV space. Now, honestly, I put this slide on because I cannot go for a drive without seeing 20 EVs now. It's just game over. EVs are here. It's not like it was in 2019, 2020 where you could occasionally see one. It's just everywhere, every model, everywhere, all the time. I don't know what your experiences are like, but I play Spotto with my son for everything that's non-Model 3, Model Y, because they're just everywhere. And we're still saying Spotto a lot, so.
We used to spot Teslas, and then we were so handy that we spot.
You can still play Spotto for Model S.
Model S, yes, I do Spotto Model S and Model X, yeah. The BYD, because it's got the thin tail light and the thin light that goes all the way across the front, it's quite easy to see at night time. So you just say, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. And look at the sales, like not bad, eh? 6,200 for half year. I mean, not discounting the Model 3 and Model Y, but 43,000 sales for half year. I think the article I sort of stole this off said 8 or 9% of new car sales now, which is like we're starting to spike on the S curve.
So
yeah.
if we go back a couple of years, I used to do all those numbers.
Yeah.
Last year it was a 40,000 vehicle market. The previous year was a 20,000 vehicle market. The previous year was about 10,000. So double every year. This year will be an 80,000 vehicle market, easy plus plus. So that's called exponential growth.
Yeah, and I think I haven't heard too many comments lately. Maybe a year or two ago it was still EVs are a fad, but I haven't heard too much lately. But the sales for the Model 3 and Y this year have been phenomenal. So.
It's like on the early on the ET60, it's a bit of an embarrassment for Lexus that the S300E, which is both cheaper and been on sale for longer, are now sold already by the ET60.
There was a few other models that were down here I didn't put on because the volumes are pretty low, but
The poor Mazda MX-30.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean, they've already sold 65 Aura Cats. So. Ford Transit 25. I didn't even know it was out yet. Anyway.
So how's the backlog on orders going? What's the waiting time now?
I think from just anecdotally from what I've heard, like it is getting better. Like obviously there was a backlog last year with the Model 3, and then January just hit, and all of those models just came to the shore, and that's why the numbers are probably, I'm not going to say they're artificially inflated, but there certainly was a backlog. And I think what we're probably seeing is some of the backlog starting to come through. But to your question about how long does it take, I don't think times have particularly improved with how long it's taking to order. I honestly don't know with like the MG4 and the BYD Dolphin what the times are going to be like for those, but I would suggest that when we do this at the end of the year, we might see some of those, or maybe next year the MG4 and the Dolphin will be on that first tab there somewhere.
So they're definitely starting to come down. I know for at least for Volvo and Polestar, they're quoting about 3 months for orders that are like done specifically to order. It's about 3-4 months.
I think, but
delivery.
like while it's not ideal, 3 months is pretty standard.
I think that's reasonable.
Pretty standard, you know.
To build a vehicle to spec and have it delivered is a fast process.
But this is not an EV thing necessarily. Like I drive past like the North Lakes Ford, and they've got nothing, hardly any car, or even most dealerships. They don't have the volume out in the car park that they used to have. So,
he's been quoted upwards of 6 months for delivery.
yeah, I can only assume it's just going to improve with time. Hopefully, we get back to a pre-COVID sort of situation.
I think the quarantine delay is the main restriction because we don't have the local manufacturer, it's all imported, and the limiting funnel with the number of customs.
It's called how to even use imports, so they're all getting stuck with docks because there's a big backlog of ships waiting to come in.
This is a bit of a battle that we're going to hopefully get to see. I personally think the MG4 is a better car.
Way better car.
I think Mark agrees with me. All right, I'm glad one person agrees with me. But ever since I sort of joined the EV movement, people were always saying, when are the cheap Chinese cars coming? They've never really been 25,000 like people wanted, but this is getting as close to that level as I think we're going to see. Now, These are 39,000 before on road, so I'm figuring that's 42, and then you get your 6,000 off if you don't own over 180,000 as a household, I think it is. So 36,000, certainly a downward trend from the original MG, which was around 42 to 45. So a couple of years ago, that was probably the cheapest. So there is a downward trend. I'm not sure how much the Auracat is, but if you're suggesting there's a few thousand off that as well to compete, then...
They're also around the same price.
Yeah.
Auracat just doesn't fit, though. It's just no boot. Nice.
Yeah. The frustrating part for me, though, has always been that people don't really still want to pay 36,000, and then when those people finally do buy a 36,000, then they're like, well, I'm not happy with the range, and it's like, well, you know, you kind of get what you pay for in some respects, you know what I mean? So, and the MG4 actually has 2 specs, so that's actually the base model is competing with the Dolphin. There is a larger battery MG4 as well, which is there 3, is it? I thought it was a 51 and a 60 something.
I think they're the same. There is the model, which is the X-Power, which is the dual motor version coming later.
Okay.
So
I think the top spec MG4 is the car to buy for 2023, 2024.
So the whole concept of having a $25,000 car in Australia is something that we could have if the vehicle was priced at the right price. So the most expensive BYD in China is 136 RMB, which in Australian dollars right now is $27,000. So the cheaper one is like 22, 23,000 Australian dollars. Yes, there's importation, yes, there's taxes, yes, there's bits and pieces, but there's a bucket load of profit in those.
But there's no incentive for them to offer them for 30,000, 28,000. There's no incentive when you can make pure profit for no reason because you're already the lowest price. You know what I mean?
I think noting though, with the BYDs and the other Chinese cars in particular, for their home market, the safety standards and crash standards are much more lax. Like the BYD, the Dolphin had to be re-engineered for Australia and Europe, has a longer nose now because it could not pass crash safety regulations in its home market form. It's the same for the Atto 3. There's additional bracketry and bracing that goes in the frame.
And that's not really surprising to hear because I think in China they have like $5,000 EVs that are like the 2-seater things and just they make $1 million of them. You know, so. So anyway, moving right along. Here's one for you, Mark. This is just for you, mate.
Oh, thanks.
The first Cybertruck has been built at Giga, Texas. You can't see it there. So fantastic photo, but this is just this week, I believe. My understanding is they did a bit of a tweak to the front and a few other bits and pieces. I think it never had mirrors and windscreen wipers when you first saw it, but all that stuff's coming. But what do we think, 2025?
Never.
Come on, mate. This is a Tesla. It's a Tesla. You're so pro-Tesla, mate. Come on. Never, ever.
It'd be very, very interesting to see if they can get to pass regulations outside of the US.
Come on, mate. Come on. There'll be someone importing. Drive it on the beach. Drive it. Yeah, take up the... I don't know how wide it is for an Australian car park, but I can imagine. It doesn't matter where you park because people can just smash their door into your car and it doesn't do anything, does it? It doesn't damage, there's no paint to damage, you can hit it with a sledgehammer, it's fine.
No, it's actually worse. It's like the original DeLorean brushed stainless. If you damage it, that's it.
Is anyone making the stickers for the windows though that look like someone's throwing a ball though? You know, is anyone already making those? Anyway, that's enough out of me. That's. Is it? 4 years. I think people have been waiting for that car. So.
Going back to chargers,
Yeah, mate.
I wasn't here last month. Did you cover the Miles Clapping Road Tesla charging?
The which one, sorry?
Miles Clapping Road, Ragetown?
Yes, we've covered that in May. And it actually, that's Rochdale, isn't it? Rochdale, yeah. Yeah, that's been out a little while.
Someone tell the installers to pack up their rubbish.
Whoa.
Because they've had their fences and bits and pieces of tube.
I'll get right onto that. All right. Right, who are our speakers tonight? I've got Tim and Les. Do I get to be chief clicker?
Yeah, you.
Yes. No, I'm going to do a Les to Les.
Not too fast.
What was that you just did to me earlier?
Hey, you were talking too much. Hey. So that's my little Leaf when I first bought it, and it had a whole 300 Ks on it.
How do I do stuff?
Just left and right. Yeah, see, go back the other way. No, back. Yeah, there you go. So I got my battery replaced a few weeks ago, and the replacement battery went in, and pretty much it's exactly the way it was when I first bought it.
But
So-
this is your second replacement.
This is my second replacement. So the first one was done under warranty because it suddenly lost range. And then this one I got changed because my brother moved to Redcliffe, and it made it difficult to go all the way to Cleveland to pick up my mum, drive to Redcliffe, then go over, drop her back, and I was tired of sitting at charging stations, so I said, stuff it, I'll just buy a battery. So,
So you buy from Nissan?
yeah, I bought it from Nissan. So if you want to go to the next... No, you don't. Sorry. So you'll see on here there's W's and R's. So W's are all the bits that Nissan did. So you get the battery, you get the covers, the switches, you get a new service disconnect switch, they give you new bolts, mounts, and then the battery pack is the last item. But that is on a secondment, so they actually sell that battery for $30,000, and then it goes to the dealer, they do the swap, and when they send it back, they get a $20,000 credit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's only costing the customer $11,000.
Yeah, so it was, I paid $9,900. Oh, sorry. All right.
Yeah, that rounding.
That was sorry. Yeah, so it's back to what it used to be. So I get about 130 Ks at 80%. So with this one though, see it says at the top, it's got the battery is lost in excess of 4 bars. There are conditions, so it has to be sold in Australia. It cannot have been in a crash, and there's some other things they do. So you can't just go and buy it. You actually have to take it to a dealer and they have to do a test on it, and then that is submitted to Nissan Australia, and then they will decide if you can purchase one or not. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much. So I had to say that was how I bought the car. So when I bought the car, I had to fill in a questionnaire and tell them how far my work was away from where my home was. And then I had to agree to buy a charger, and they would not let me have the car until the charger was installed. So that's the way it was when I bought it. And then, I don't know, 2 months later they were like, got cash, here you go. So
What size pack was it?
that's a 24 kilowatt hour.
So it's 30,000 for
Yeah.
24 kilowatt hour.
Because it's the old LMO chemistry, and no one makes those anymore. So they're very expensive.
There's no option to get a bigger battery?
Oh, well, no, not from Nissan. No, Nissan is that car was made with that battery pack, and they will never sell anything but that car and that battery pack. Right. End of story.
But it's still a big battery.
Yeah, but I just paid all my money, and then Graham goes, I've got a replacement. I'm like, So anyway, there it was. Can you go to the next one? Yeah, so I just used Leaf Spy. So the old one, yeah, it was getting down to the 57%. But that state of charge, that's very rubbery. I say health, sorry, yeah. So it's very rubbery. So you can see there, my new battery only has 92. But when I first turned it on, it's at 103. I think it just takes the computer a while to work out what the actual battery capacity is.
Are you charging 100 to get the BMS to reset?
No, well, when they first did it, it was charged to 100, and it said 100%. And then the next day, I hadn't charged it, and it said 103. And then after a bit of a drive, it went back to, yeah. So now it says 92%. So it's, sorry? No, especially with this chemistry. But yeah, but I'm just saying that the state of health. So the state of health actually just goes up and down depending on how hot it is, and yeah. So you're just gonna go to the next one. So my brother decided to have his birthday at Mullaney. So I was like, oh, I'll just drive there. And I stopped at the BP Caboolture, and I was getting like 25 kilowatt because it did the power splitting. But the lady next to me, she plugged in and she got 2.
There's something I noticed at Ampol Castledon, and I don't know if this is a general bug with both the tritium and the amp charge, is that if someone is already plugged in on the charter mode, it wasn't activating the CCS, or vice versa.
I don't know about that. On the tritium one though, I was like, oh, okay. So I stopped, and then she got 70.
Yeah.
And then I started again, and then it did the thing where it pulled her back to 2 and gave me 25.
So you did a bit of troubleshooting and it still did.
Yeah. Anyway, so I made a call, and whoever manages that station's an idiot, and they actually sent 2 kilowatt. So it's got 2 settings: a setting when you're just one charge, and a setting when it's simultaneous. And it actually sends 35 and 2. I don't know why it sends 35 and 2, but it does. It's not a software bug.
It's a program.
Yeah, like they are telling the station to do that. So I was like, oh. So anyway, I think it's a back-end thing.
Is that something to do with a fuel company putting out charges?
No, I don't know. It's just a weird,
Kilowatt charger too, so
but I think it's limited to 70. So
you can see when they finally enable the full supply.
yeah, so
Or learn how to cut charging birds?
I know. So anyway, I just saw that, and because really when I plugged it in, I got 2. We went to 2. I'm like, oh my god, is there something wrong with my brand new battery? Like, no, it was just some stupid config. Sorry? Yeah, that's the BP at Caboolture, northbound.
Were you getting 50 or something before the other lady plugged in?
Yeah, I was getting 50, and then and when you plug in, like if you're by yourself, I got 50. But when somebody else plugs in, it does the power split. So then I only get 25.
Yeah.
But then that stupid setting kicked in and gave me 2. So, yeah. So anyway, so hopefully they fix that soon. So the other one I've just been doing is, I bought one of these e-bikes from Electric Bikes Brisbane. And hey. Some of us have got old knees and we don't want to be like doing this to try and get on our bikes. I bought some saddlebags. Anyway, because I work at Hurston, I just ride from Coorparoo to Hurston. And also I go to the gym at UQ. So I can get on my bike and get to UQ in under 20 minutes. And even if I got my car and drove to the car park at Dutton Park and then tried to run all the way over, it's still like 25, 30 minutes. So I've actually been getting around faster on this than I've been on a car. And a lot of time I ride through Stones Corner and all the cars are stopped and they're not moving. Like, I think I sat there one day for half an hour trying to get through Stones Corner. And it's only 45 minutes to work. So I'm just like, stuff it. So I'm moving on to the next one. So I kind of just pulled out all the little costs, and surprisingly, tolls. Tolls are the most expensive thing for me. So if I drive to work, I have to pay $6. So, and that's only, that's only one way. So.
One way?
Yeah, well, it's because it's five days a week. I have to pay the $6. So I got to pay all of those tolls. And yeah, if I ride my bike, it's $0. So I'm like, So I was like, I started riding. But the other one that was weird though, and fuel, I always expected fuel to be next to nothing. So yeah, like $9 versus $200.
How's that calculated, the Leaf $200 one?
That's at 15 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks. So it was 3,800 kilometres. Pardon?
Charging at home? Or?
Yeah, at 32 cents a kilowatt hour. So that compares fine. But the actual servicing, there was quite a difference. Bicycles have lots of labour. So if you just go to the next one. Yeah, labour is huge. So, because every time I take it in for a service, it's $149-ish. Yeah, well, and then I went through a few chains, but apparently e-bikes love eating chains. So I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. It kept jumping off. And I cleaned it, and I got a. Yeah, I think also because I think they're like 2,000 kilometre intervals. It's 3,800, so it's like close enough. I went through a few tubes because I got like a hole in one, and you know that little inside. There's a band inside. It moves slightly. And so when you pumped it up, it cut into the tyre. So like I wasted too many dollars on those, and I had to replace a few rear tyres because I kept hitting. When you start riding, especially around Cooperoo, there's lots of glass on the road. There's like heaps of glass. I was like, I'm sure someone just like throws glass bottles all day long. It's just littered all along the side of the road. But yeah, and the overpass is almost finished soon. So yeah, so I do see a lot more people riding. I'm not sure about the cost for the service, but yeah, that's it. That's all I had.
Can I just have a look at
Yeah.
something? So if you drove a route that didn't have tolls,
Well, then I would.
isn't the Leaf like massively better?
Yeah. Yeah, the Leaf is better because the servicing was just so much more.
That's really surprising that a bike would cost that much for servicing. Surprising.
Yeah.
The same as an assessment I did for an inner city Sydney council, and it came out exactly the same. The only thing that's not in there is capital costs, so something.
Yeah, no capital costs.
And
Yeah.
how much was your bike?
Oh, it was only $6,000. Yeah. Hey, it's got a new battery. It must be at least $10,000. Yeah. So, but
He's saved some money because he can spend $1,300 on tolls every day.
yeah. No, but that's I was just surprised that the toll figure was so high. But yeah, if you want to escape, like if you just want to use, I only use the Clem 7.
It's $12 a day.
Yeah, so it just adds up so quick. Oh, coffee. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you haven't got your food costs for the fuel.
Well, the other ones you get the exercise with it. So I don't know what you would put in there as a negative cost, but
Negative cost of not paying for the gym membership anymore.
Hey. Yeah.
We put out the collar and back, just on the bus challenge. So what?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think.
30-cent wash network.
Yeah.
Unless the Leaf gets 60.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought because there's a lot more, I see a lot more bikes on all e-bikes. So, especially like Hurston's pretty hilly, but no one cares. They just put it on turbo and straight up the hills. So.
Well, it's it's EV events. I bet you that no one's getting told that the servicing cost of owning an EVA.
No, I didn't know until I bought one, and then I was like, oh wow. But I mean, other than that, you can ignore the spanner because it just comes up in the display and says, like your service is due. If you wanted to, you could ignore it. But I've got a Bosch system, and I'm pretty sure if you don't do the service and something goes wrong with it, they'll be like, oh, you didn't do the service.
For the each service?
It's about, some of them were 129 and some were...
Yeah, so it's a pedal bike. I
Yeah.
get a basic, just mountain bike service, and the basic one, they're like, we'll put the tyres, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just all labour. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Les. I knew there was a reason I didn't own an e-bike. No, thanks for... Tim, you're up, mate. Yeah, go.
I've had an e-bike for 10 plus years and I've spent one service worth. That's meant about
Yeah, you do a lot of Ks too, don't you? And how much have you spent in that thing? $200. You need to buy his model. All right, take it away, Tim.
Hi everyone, Tim. If you don't know me, I work for EV Networks. This is my second conversion project. I thought I'd just go through some photos of the conversion and then tell you what it is and take any questions, I suppose. It's a 1973 Combi. This is how it looked when I first got it. So bare shell, no windows, not much interior, and a lot of work. But I deliberately bought one that we had no motor or not running because it was perfect for a conversion. I guess I should tell you what it really is. It's what's under it. It's got a 75 kilowatt hour pack from a Tesla Model X and a Tesla small rear drive unit, driving the rear wheels directly. It's been about 3.5 years project. My first one was a Ford Cortina 1965 Mark I, which I've had in here a few years ago. So this is the idea and objective of this conversion was to really step it up from the Cortina. I wanted to do more range, more power, and the VW is a perfect candidate vehicle for really pushing the envelope and making it a really long range, powerful conversion. So, and it's pretty iconic shape. I think it really lent itself to going electric. So, yeah, just go through them. Oh, so this is the Tesla Model X, written off. I think it was 2017 model that I picked up at a Pickles auction. It was rear-ended, it couldn't be repaired or anything, so it was purely for parts. To give you an idea, that cost about 20 grand. I bought two of them actually, so the first one was about 20 grand, but then this one I think was about 30 grand all up by the time you bought it at an auction and pull it all apart. So we got 14 Tesla battery modules, or slabs as they're called, up there on the bench, and 2 motors, because the Model X has front and rear. So I sold the front motor to Graham. He's put it in a Suzuki Swift drag car. And the rear motor, so I just used the motor, not the whole cradle, which is shown there. But yeah, this is after we've stripped it all out and sort of put it back together to see what just to check that all the components were okay. Just you can cycle through these. This is at the start of the project 3.5 years ago. So this is up on the hoist, you can see the first of those, that 75 kilowatt hour pack got split into 3 battery boxes. And one of the key objectives and I think achievements of this is getting the whole pack split into 3 boxes, but they're totally under and in the back of the VW. There's no impingement on the interior. If you looked anywhere under the seats or under the back, there's no loss of cabin space or change to the seating, so it can fit all standard seating and aftermarket VW components to the interior. So this is looking at the rear battery, the battery boxes aren't fully in this picture. All the work here is done by Traction EV in Morayfield. That's the high voltage junction box with its lid off and the CharterMo charging port and the Tesla small drive unit mounted there, which in later pictures or when you look at it from the back, the vision or of the motor is obscured by another battery pack that's fitted there. So yeah, clearer view of the motor. This is the first motor that we put in because unfortunately we did have a bit of an accident, not an accident, but that motor blew and I had to replace it with a second Tesla motor of exactly the same size just because during testing we were using an aftermarket controller and lots of programming and it was an open source controller that required a lot of programming and we didn't have some settings right even though they were default and a small error caused some of the parts of the inverter to blow. So because Tesla don't sell parts to repair their motors, it was pretty much bricked the whole motor and the best way forward for the project was just find another rear drive unit from another wrecked Tesla. This is looking, during the progress as well, on the sides of that middle battery box are the condensers and condensers for the air conditioning. So they've got two condenser systems and 2 evaporator boxes, one at the front and one at the rear. So it's fully air conditioned.
2 compressors?
1 compressor. Yeah. This is a picture of the automotive engineer doing his inspection on the day that it got signed off. So that was quite a moment. He was very impressed with the work that Traction EV did to all the systems. He's looking at the brake booster and reservoir up the front there because that also needed a mod plate. It's got about 6 modification codes on the mod plate because not just the electric motor conversion, but the braking system, some seats and child restraint seats and everything. This is a better view. I saw some people trying to crawl under to have a look what it looked like because it's hard to see, through the rear engine lid, but this is the picture of the rear drive unit. So we had, in order to get to drive the rear wheels, just to put it in perspective, so we've got Mercedes steel wheels on there. That's just because they were bigger diameter and get better tyre choices. But stock rear drum brakes, VW stub axles that were custom made to match a Porsche 930 CV pattern in order to use stronger axles. And from the Tesla motor on the Tesla side, the CV joints are also Tesla stubs that go into Tesla differential or a reduction gearbox. And actually those axles, even though they've got Porsche 930 CV patterns, are actually from a VP or VS Commodore off the shelf. Just happened to be the right length and the same CV pattern, and they're very strong. So that whole rear axle system is pretty strong. The only thing that was custom fabricated were the stub axles, and they were made by a guy who in the VW world, drag races, some pretty powerful stuff. He said they'll never break. So everything in the rear there is very strong, and yeah, it performs really well, getting the power to the ground there. It's about a 200. We've limited the motor to about 200 kilowatt, based on the battery. There's 14 modules, so it's 350 volt maximum voltage, which is, some of the other components are around a 400 volt max. So because it's 14 Tesla modules instead of the full 16, so the 220 kilowatt, I think, capacity of that small rear drive unit is just wound down to about 196. So yeah, still a lot more powerful than the, 40 horsepower or something that the VW flat fours were known for. And there's a fair bit of weight in the back with a lot of the battery packs surrounding the motor. So, it does keep traction pretty well. And, the first time I opened her up, with the Speed Hut GPS custom-made gauges, it did 0 to 100 in 5.75 seconds. So that's quicker than a Tesla Model 3 and Y standard. So it's pretty quick, and it feels a lot faster than a Combi probably should go. Surprised a lot of people. These are just some progress shots of the front. The big black box under the glove box area is the front evaporator box for the air conditioning. It's also got some carbon fibre heating elements in it, so it can heat and cool. And I've also got a second evaporator box under the back seat for the rear passengers. This was the moment after my first day of test driving it, that we're in inconspicuous little error in the settings, and it popped, and just thought I'd blown a fuse, but all the fuses weren't blowing. No fuses were blown anywhere, and it was bricked, the motor. So I had to change the rear motor, and decided not to go down that open sourced, community driven sort of solution again, given that the problems we had tuning it and what led to blowing the motor. We decided to fork out the money and buy a well-known aftermarket controller. It was expensive, but it's been a whole lot better since we put that in. It's really well tuned and feels really nice, and it was out of the box, driving beautifully straight away. These are the Speed Hut. This is just showing how I fitted the Speed Hut gauges. I had to do some 3D printing. I was talking to you, John, about 3D printing, just to try and fit new stuff to make it look as old and original and analogue as possible. What else have I got? Oh, this is the inside of the Tesla inverter on the blown motor. That's actually a logic board that we replaced to put the open sourced or community aftermarket board in. That all went in fine. It was just the programming of it was pretty difficult and had some parameters in it that we should have changed, but the default had them as that. But yeah, there's one more picture, I think, of what the gear set looks like. It's a single speed, I think 9 point something reduction gear. I think that's about it. Oh, this is just one frustrating thing that happened when we had to change to the aftermarket controller. It required the use of a Tesla accelerator pedal, and this was the previous pedal that we had wired the whole car for, which was a floor-mounted pedal from, I can't remember what it was from now, but a smart car, I think. And then it had the whole car trimmed to match a floor-mounted accelerator pedal, and then now it's been changed to a Tesla pedal, which is a wall-mounted pedal. So yeah, just an example of doing things 3 times over, which is part of the reason why it's still not finished, still got a few things to go. part of the reason why.
Oh, that's the last one.
That's the last one, yeah. So, any questions, I suppose? Yeah. How long did it take? Yeah, well, it's 3.5 years since I bought it and when it first went to Traction EV to start designing the conversion, and probably, yeah, about 4 years ago I bought the Tesla Model X and started stripping it with plans to put it in here, and it's, you know, it's been to a few different, it's been restored obviously in parallel to the conversion, and we've still got a fair bit of things to go. It doesn't look like it from here, but they've still got to get the air conditioning compressor replaced, and then regassed, and yeah, some paint and panel things to finish, you know, and then just finishing touches, 12-volt accessories and stuff. Yep.
Any particular reason to use the charter mode plug for DC rather than the CCS2 plug?
Yeah, it was, I put charter mode on the Cortina. We're using a Orion BMS and they support charter mode sort of out of the box, even though it's not really, doesn't really work out of the box. So that's another thing that we've been trying to get working for the last few months. Charter mode is just a lot more simple and more straightforward protocol to try and use in a custom car.
Two separate plugs, so it's a bit easier to package rather than one big monolithic CCS2.
Yeah, the AC charge port fits nicely in the old fuel filler port. I would, if there was a CCS2 solution that was easy to use and affordable for EV conversions, I would have gone with that. But a few years ago, it wasn't really an option. It probably will be in the near future, so I'll probably change. But yeah.
With the 75 kilowatt battery, what's the range?
Oh yeah, the range, solid 350 k's, even at highway speed. So yeah. I mean, it's not very aerodynamic, but I blast down the highway at, you know, easy 100, 110 on the highway to the Gold Coast and back, and do 200 k's and only use just over 50%. And so running the pack all the way down, I've got 350 k's. So yeah.
Have you upgraded the brakes?
It's got front disc brakes. It's got regen braking, which is really nice. I hardly use the mechanical brakes really, but yeah, it has got an electric pump for the brake booster.
What did you use that? What was the electric solution for the?
Yeah, I did. After I did get it, I have. If I had my time again, you know, I've got an iBooster sitting on the shelf at home, but I didn't get my hands on that until after we had gone down the path of one of the electric pumps. But you know, you can hear it a bit, but it's not as noisy as some. So
it's like the Vauxhall pump or whatever it is that everybody seems to use.
Yeah.
Straight into the original brake booster.
Yeah, with a custom reservoir and all that. Yeah. That'd be the only thing now that the iBoosters are a bit more easier to come by, but yeah, it's not too bad.
What was the brand name of the controller you ended up using, and does it work with other motors, not just Tesla?
It's just for Tesla, so it's EV Controls. It's from a Canadian company, and they do the same controller. It's got a T2C. It controls all the Model S, Model X, and Model 3 and Model Y motors.
But not a Nissan Leaf?
No, but there's other brands that do Nissan Leaf controllers, yeah.
You want to discuss cost?
Oh, it's been a no, don't yeah.
50 grand for the two Model X's, was it?
Yeah, I actually only use one of
Obviously
it for this. I've sold a lot of parts from the Model S and the Model X over the years. A lot of the batteries that, you know, only put a third of the pack into the Cortina. The other 2/3 are sold. You know, sold the front motor to ground. There's lots of body parts that I've sold that have covered a lot of the costs. But
I don't mention it to embarrass you in any way, but what comes up at a lot of EV questions at events is like, oh, you know, could I get away with it for 30, 40 grand because people want to take their existing car and convert it, but to have something of this quality, you wouldn't, and it's the same with petrol cars, right? Like, you want to get those really refined cars and projects, you're going to have to spend the money.
Yeah. You know, this has been a big restoration project as well as conversion, so you know you can't avoid big costs there. But you know, it's been I'm happy with what it's costing. It's still going, so I haven't quite got to the final figure yet. But you know, I think it's probably going to be. If someone asked me this, it could be like a unicorn, because if you're doing a conversion now, you might not warrant. You're probably not going to get a Model X wrecked. You're probably not going to put a full 75 kilowatt hour pack, and you're probably not going to, you know, go to a lot of effort of hiding it underneath and in the back, like I have done. But I kind of had a goal of keeping it really clean on the interior so that I could use it in any way I wanted to. So I can, you know, the bed turns into a full, reclines into a full flat bed. I can still put in cabinetry or whatever if I choose to do that to make it more of a camper. There's a lot of different things you can do to make a VW however you want to use it, and I wanted to keep it like that. You could probably do it simpler and easier by just whacking a battery box inside or under the seat. But you know, I made those decisions. I'm happy with them. And the Tesla motor just drives like a dream. You know, it's got so much power, and yet you can drive it with one pedal. The throttle mapping is really well done. It's a joy to drive. You can beat just about any car at the lights. And yeah.
Can I just ask a technical question? So obviously this is not your first project, and did the Cortina it had batteries in the engine bay? Did it have other batteries?
Yeah, it had another battery pack in the boot.
The technical questions kind of with the premise that perhaps some EVs that want a tow can have a caravan with batteries in the back. How does it go technically where you've got several different batteries? How do they sort of connect up safely? And
they're just all wired up. So yeah, there's high voltage.
Too technical there.
Not really. No, they're all high voltage cables joining the three boxes together. Everything's monitored. Every single cell has temperature and voltage monitoring. It's liquid cooled as well. I should have mentioned all three battery boxes are liquid cooled, just like they are in a Tesla.
So you're just running sort of like maybe extra wiring because you've got the BMS cabling all needs to go to one central BMS, but it's three different packs and stuff.
The BMS doesn't know any different. They're just it's some extra wires joining them up.
How do you go for traction? So that motor in a Tesla would be ABS and traction control, and you know, grab brakes and slow things down and whatever else. Obviously that's unencumbered here. It's just like give it a go. Does it light one wheel up? Does it not light up at all?
No. Well, that's what I was saying. There is a fair bit of weight on the rear. The two big battery boxes, one in the old fuel tank area and one in the old engine area. And the remainder under the belly. So it's pretty. I mean, they were always rear biased anyway with the rear engine. Now it's a little bit more so, but with the nice tyres and wheels, it doesn't hardly ever lose traction. Only on probably some
That's odd.
really slippery or sandy road, but it grips and it just grips the road and goes. You know, really nice. Those Yokohama light truck tyres, but they're, you know, the newer style where they take the weight nicely, but they've got, you know, some really good handling, and it just grips the road and goes. You know, it's very powerful.
Skinnier tyres.
That's another question. Tear weight versus the original. You know, has it?
So we had it scaled before. Before you saw it wasn't really worth it, but we got an identical standard VW that was owned by someone nearby to Traction EV. They went to the scale corner weight place. It weighed 1,200 kilos, the standard VW. So this weighed 1,600 kilos. The GVM is 2,300 kilos. So it's still a long way off. So with 5 passengers and their luggage and everything, it's still well under the 2,300. That's why when I was getting it all engineered, I got it engineered for full 5 seats. And so it's a little bit heavier, but it's still, but not too much, and it's still got plenty of luggage carrying capacity, and did well. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
Of the EV traction side of things, were you inspired by work for the colour scheme?
Oh no, that's just a coincidence.
Wow.
Looks great.
You have a logo. The logo's going. For tax purposes, you can just throw the EV signage on the side.
I wish. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for bringing that in, mate.
No problem.
I would pose that you're actually probably one of Australia's most experienced conversion people now, having done your second one. Have you done any other ones? Just the Cortina and this one? Yeah. I guess we didn't really ask, but how involved are you in are you overseeing the whole project? Because I know Traction EV, James, know him quite well. Obviously they're doing a lot of the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Are you just managing the project overall?
Yeah, I'm overseeing it. I had the design of where I thought I could fit the 75 kilowatt hours in without impeding on the interior, and then James executed it.
Yeah.
And then everything else, I've been designing the interior and everything, and stitching and everything. Finding people that are good at what they do.
Yeah. I should have probably asked you that while you're up here, but have you got another project coming after this one?
I've got another project, but it's a long way off. It's a 1949 Pontiac fastback.
Oh, okay.
That'll be down.
So how will you drive 3 EV conversions then? All right, thank you, Les and Tim. Thank you, guys. We're going to break and have tea and coffee now in our brand new kitchen facilities that the Hall have done in the last month or so. Thank you very much.